I woke up to an empty bed. It wasn't unusual for Clara to be up early, but there was something different about the stillness of the apartment that morning. The house was too quiet, and for the first time in a long while, I felt uneasy. It wasn't because I heard something or saw something strange. It was just a feeling, an instinctive pull in my chest telling me something wasn't right. I stretched, rubbed my eyes, and glanced at the clock. 7:45 a.m. I wasn't late for work, but I couldn't shake the feeling that today was going to be different. My mind was still foggy from sleep, but there was this sharp awareness in me that something had shifted overnight. Clara had left earlier, without a word, without the usual goodbye kiss. That was the first clue. Normally, she was the one to remind me to eat breakfast, to check if I had everything ready for the day. But today, there was nothing. No note. No coffee waiting for me. Just silence. I wandered through the apartment, feeling like I was stepping through a world I didn't recognize. The place was exactly as I had left it the night before. No mess, no disruptions, but everything felt off. As I stepped into the kitchen, I caught a faint smell of her perfume lingering near the counter, as if she had been there not long ago. I started my usual routine, the hum of the coffee machine filling the space as I tried to push down the weird feeling creeping up my spine. You're overthinking this, I told myself. But still, that feeling wouldn't go away. Something wasn't adding up. It wasn't until I checked my phone that the unease started to make sense. There was a message from Clara. Nothing unusual, but the timestamp was off. It had been sent around 2 a.m. I had been asleep, oblivious, as usual. I'm going to stay with Kate for a while. Don't worry, just needed some space. I'll explain later. At first, I thought it was a joke. But as I read it again and again, a knot tightened in my stomach. Clara had never done something like this. She didn't just need space. She would have talked to me about it, wouldn't she? And why Kate? Her best friend, sure, but she never stayed over unannounced. It felt strange. Too strange. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted her back. Where are you? Everything okay? No response. An hour passed, then another. Still nothing. I thought about driving over to Kate's place, but something stopped me. It felt like an intrusion. I told myself to be patient, that she'd explain when she was ready. But deep down, I knew there was more to this. There was always something about Clara's moods that I never quite understood. She would never talk about her feelings unless it was on her terms, and right now, her silence felt heavy, like it was hiding something. By 1 p.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I was sitting on the couch, staring at my phone, and the waiting was killing me. Something was wrong. I had to do something about it. I stood up and grabbed my jacket, heading out the door. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know what I was going to do when I got to Kate's, but I had to go. The feeling inside me, that gnawing sense that something was broken, was growing unbearable. The drive to Kate's apartment felt longer than it should have, every minute dragging on. By the time I reached the building, I was already filled with 1,000 questions, most of which I didn't want to ask. But I had to know. I had to get answers. I rang the buzzer. A few moments later, Kate's voice came through the intercom. Yeah, it's Jacob. Is Clara there? I could hear the hesitation in her voice before she answered. She's not home right now, Kate said, but there was something off in her tone. A pause, a small catch in her breath. She left this morning, actually. Left? Where did she go? I pressed, already feeling the panic creeping up my throat. I don't know, Jacob. She didn't tell me. She just left and said she'd explain later. She didn't seem like herself. I don't know what's going on, but before she could finish, I cut her off. I need to talk to her. Can you at least tell me where she went? I can't, Jacob, Kate said, her voice tight. She didn't say. I'm sorry. Maybe just give her some time. Time? I repeated, my mind spinning. Time for what? Why won't anyone tell me where she is? The conversation ended there. She didn't know. Or maybe she was hiding something, too. My heart raced, my thoughts scattered, and suddenly, I was back in the car, driving aimlessly through the city, hoping that if I just kept driving, I'd find a clue, a sign, anything that could explain what was happening. And then, as if the universe had decided to answer my silent questions, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Clara. Only this time, it wasn't what I expected. I'm sorry. I can't come back. Not yet. I need you to know something I should have told you a long time ago. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't just an apology. It was the kind of message that made your heart skip a beat in fear. I pulled the car over to the side of the road, my hands trembling as I typed my response. What's going on, Clara? Where are you? What do you need to tell me? But no reply came. It felt like hours passed as I sat there on the side of the road, staring at the empty screen of my phone. The text from Clara was like a cold, hard slap to the face, and the silence that followed it only made everything worse. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening, but no matter how much I tried to reason with myself, nothing felt right. Why was she suddenly unreachable? Why did she need to tell me something? What was going on that she couldn't say in a simple text? I was shaking with frustration and fear, and yet, I couldn't bring myself to drive away. I stayed there, parked in the same spot, staring blankly ahead. The street was quiet, and the weight of the moment pressed down on me, suffocating me. Was I overreacting? Was this just some small, harmless issue that had gotten blown out of proportion in my head? I couldn't tell. I didn't want to imagine the alternative. My phone buzzed again, this time with an unknown number. My heart skipped a beat. I grabbed it quickly, desperate for any form of communication from Clara. Jacob, it's me. The message began, and for a moment, relief washed over me. But that relief was short-lived, because the rest of the message made my stomach drop. I don't know how to say this, and I don't want to hurt you, but I need to be honest. I've been seeing someone else. I've been with him for the past few weeks. I didn't mean for it to happen, and I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you like this, but I can't lie anymore. I need space to figure things out. Please don't come looking for me. I just need time. I stared at the screen, completely frozen. I couldn't breathe. For a few seconds, it felt like the world had stopped. All the things I'd been feeling, all the little signs I hadn't paid attention to before, suddenly made sense. The late nights, the distant texts, the strange silence, everything had been leading to this. But nothing could have prepared me for the overwhelming rush of emotions that followed. Betrayal, hurt, confusion, and deep, deep sadness. I read the message again, trying to make sense of it, trying to make sure I hadn't missed something. Maybe this was a joke. Maybe she was just trying to get a reaction out of me. But it wasn't funny. And there was no punchline. The reality of it hit me like a freight train. Clara, the woman I'd trusted with everything, the woman I'd married, had been seeing someone else. She had been living a lie right under my nose. And I didn't even know. I didn't even suspect. How could I have missed it? I immediately called her, my heart pounding in my chest, my hands trembling as I dialed. It rang once, twice, 3 times, but there was no answer. I left a voicemail, my voice shaky as I spoke. Clara, please pick up. I need to hear from you. What the hell is going on? We need to talk. I don't understand. The voicemail cut off, and I was left with nothing but silence once again. I sat there for what felt like an eternity, trying to process the message, trying to convince myself that this wasn't real, that this was just some horrible misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew it was true. Everything she'd said, every little detail in that text, screamed reality. It was happening. She was leaving me, and she wasn't coming back. I thought about the man she'd been seeing. Who was he? What did he have that I didn't? Had she been unhappy for longer than I'd known? Or was this just some impulsive decision, a mistake she'd made? I didn't know. And the more I thought about it, the more my head swirled with questions that I had no answers to. I spent the next few hours driving aimlessly, unable to focus on anything but the message and the pain that was slowly consuming me. I drove through unfamiliar neighborhoods, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion. I wasn't sure where I was going, but I had to keep moving. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't stop thinking about what Clara had done. Eventually, I ended up at a small cafe, one I'd passed many times before, but had never actually gone into. It was quiet, the perfect place for a moment of reflection, but all I could think about was Clara. She was somewhere out there, and I didn't know where. I couldn't help but feel like I was losing her for good. I pulled out my phone again, thinking about texting her back. Maybe I could get more answers. Maybe she would explain. But every time I tried to type something, the words didn't feel right. What could I say to her now? How could I possibly fix this? Instead, I sent a single message, simple but heartfelt. I just want you to be honest with me. I deserve that much. I hit send, but no response came. The next few hours were a blur. I stayed at the cafe for what felt like forever, waiting for something, anything, that would give me some clarity. But there was nothing, just the empty silence between us. It was dark by the time I left, and I still didn't know where Clara was. I still didn't know what was going to happen, and the uncertainty was eating away at me. I walked back to my car, my mind racing, trying to think of what to do next. But all I could think about was her, and the life I thought we'd built together that now seemed like a lie. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a thought began to form. If Clara was really with someone else, there had to be more to this story. There had to be something I was missing, and I would find out what it was. No matter what it took, I wasn't going to let her get away without answers. The following days felt like I was moving through a fog, each hour stretching longer than the last. It wasn't just the uncertainty that weighed on me, though that was bad enough, but the confusion. Clara had always been so transparent, so present. It wasn't just the betrayal that cut deep, it was the sudden shift. I didn't know who she was anymore. And worse, I didn't know who I was in this new reality where she wasn't the person I thought she was. I couldn't stay in the apartment. Every corner reminded me of her. Her clothes in the closet, her books on the shelf, the picture frames we'd bought on our honeymoon, still sitting on the coffee table. Everything felt like a cruel reminder of the life that had suddenly crumbled in front of me. I started calling her friends. Kate, of course, was the first. But Kate wasn't the type to answer right away, and when she did, her voice was low and hesitant. Jacob, I don't think this is the best time for you to be reaching out to anyone. Clara's going through something right now. Please just let her be. I clenched my fists, the words stinging more than I expected. Let her be? Kate, she's left me. She's been lying to me for weeks, and now you're telling me to just leave her alone? What the hell happened? Jacob, Kate hesitated, like she was about to say something but wasn't sure she could. She'll talk to you when she's ready. Just trust me, okay? I didn't trust her, though. I didn't trust anyone anymore. Not when everything felt like a lie. I spent the rest of that day running through the details in my mind. Who could I ask? Who could possibly know more about Clara's secret life? I thought about her coworkers, her old friends, even strangers who might have seen her on nights she had late meetings. The possibilities spun around me like a cyclone, and I was standing in the eye, too stunned to act, too confused to see through it. It wasn't until the following evening that I got another message. This time, it was from a number I didn't recognize, and it made my blood run cold. Jacob, this is Alex. The message began. I think you need to know some things about Clara. I didn't know how to tell you, but she's been seeing me. I'm sorry, man. I never meant for it to get this far. I stared at the message, my hands trembling. Alex? Who is this guy? Clara had never mentioned anyone named Alex. I felt sick. I should have been angry, but instead, I felt a numbness take over. The words on the screen blurred in front of me as I read them again. She was seeing him. While I was here, wondering what went wrong, she'd been with someone else. This Alex had the audacity to reach out to me now, after everything. The betrayal felt even deeper, as if the knife she had put in my back had been twisted. I couldn't stay still. I had to know who this guy was. I needed to confront him. I couldn't let this hang over me any longer. I grabbed my coat and stormed out of the apartment, my mind racing. The address Alex had left in the message wasn't far, and I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me with every step. My fists clenched tightly, my jaw locked in frustration. I parked outside a small apartment building, the one Alex had listed. The place looked ordinary, nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary, just another nondescript building in the city. But the reality of it, the weight of everything I was about to do, hit me as soon as I stepped out of the car. I had no plan. I had no idea how to approach this situation. But I couldn't sit in my apartment anymore, spiraling in doubt. I had to do something. I walked up to the door and rang the bell. My heartbeat thudded in my chest, and the anxiety was almost suffocating. I didn't know what I was expecting. What did I want from this confrontation? Answers? An apology? Or was it just rage that I was after? The door opened, and a tall, scruffy man stood there, looking at me with a mix of surprise and wariness. Alex. I didn't need to ask. I could see the way he stood, the way his eyes darted nervously. Jacob, he asked, his voice a little too calm. You're here because of Clara, right? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat was tight, and for a moment, I was afraid I might choke on the words. But I found my voice. Barely. You're the one she's been seeing behind my back. I asked, the words leaving my mouth before I could stop them. Alex looked uncomfortable, shifting from one foot to the other. Look, man, I didn't want this to happen. Clara told me she was in a bad place in her marriage. She said she needed someone to talk to. I never meant for it to go this far. It was just supposed to be a friend thing at first. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He made it sound so casual, so innocent. But I knew better. You think that's all this was? I snapped. You're telling me this was just a friend thing, but she's been sleeping with you? For weeks? Alex shifted uncomfortably again. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I swear. But when she told me about you, I just thought. Shut up, I cut him off. I don't care about your excuses. Where is she? Alex's eyes flickered, and I saw a brief moment of guilt before he masked it with a calm expression. I don't know. She left yesterday. Said she needed time to think things over. I haven't heard from her since. I wanted to lash out, to grab him by the collar and shake him, but I just stood there, staring at him, feeling the weight of everything crash down on me all at once. Clara was gone. She was out there somewhere, and I didn't even know where to begin looking. Alex's voice broke through my thoughts. Look, I know this doesn't make sense, but I wasn't the only one involved here. Clara made her own choices. She's been running from something. I think you need to talk to her, not me. I stood there for a few moments, processing his words. He wasn't wrong, though. Clara had made her choices. She had been living a double life. And as much as I wanted to blame Alex, the truth was, I was just as much in the dark as he was. I turned and walked away, my mind already set on what I needed to do next. I had to find Clara. I had to get answers. And this time, I wasn't going to let her hide anymore. I was done being in the dark. I didn't know what I expected when I walked away from Alex's apartment, but I definitely didn't expect the feeling of cold dread that washed over me as I stepped into the night air. It was as if the weight of everything had finally hit me. The uncertainty, the betrayal, the questions without answers, they all came crashing down at once. I had never felt so lost, so utterly out of control of my own life. For the past few days, I had been clinging to the hope that I'd get a message from Clara, that she'd call and explain everything. But as time passed, it became clear that I wasn't going to get that. Whatever was going on, it wasn't something she was going to explain easily, or at all. Clara had always been someone who kept her cards close to her chest, but this was different. It wasn't just her pulling away from me. It was like she'd vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but empty words and the shell of a life we once shared. I needed to know more. I drove aimlessly for hours, not knowing where to go, but feeling a constant tug in my gut to keep moving. I didn't want to return to the apartment just yet, not while every inch of it felt like a trap, a reminder of what was slipping away. I couldn't think straight. My mind kept flashing between images of Clara, her smile, the way she used to talk about our future, the way she had been lately, distant, secretive, almost like a stranger in my own home. I couldn't reconcile the woman I'd married with the woman who had left me with nothing but vague messages and unanswered questions. The frustration built up, and I found myself at the one place I never expected, Kate's house. Kate was Clara's best friend. If anyone knew where Clara was, it would be her, right? Or at least, I hoped. But as soon as I pulled up to her house, I hesitated. What was I going to say to her? How could I even begin to explain what had been happening? I wasn't sure I could handle another conversation where I walked away with even more doubts in my mind. But I had no choice. If Kate knew anything, she was the last person who could give me the answers I needed. I rang the doorbell, my heart pounding in my chest. It felt like I was knocking on the door of my own future. Everything was at stake, and I wasn't sure I was ready for what would come next. A few moments later, the door creaked open, and Kate stood in front of me. Her eyes were red-rimmed, as if she had been crying or hadn't slept in days. She looked at me, surprised, and then quickly glanced away. "Jacob, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need to talk to you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "About Clara." Kate opened the door wider and stepped aside, allowing me in. I didn't waste any time. As soon as I was inside, I faced her. "Where is she, Kate? What's really going on? I need to know everything. She's gone, and I don't know why. I can't just sit around anymore, waiting for her to explain." Kate didn't meet my gaze at first. She shifted uncomfortably, her hands fiddling with the edge of her sweater. "Jacob, I wish I could tell you everything. But Clara's made up her mind, and I don't think she's going to change it. She's not in a place where she wants to talk to you right now. And honestly, I think it's for the best." "For the best," I repeated, incredulity creeping into my voice. "What the hell are you talking about?" "She's been cheating on me, Kate. And you're telling me it's for the best? Kate flinched, but she didn't argue. Instead, she walked into the living room and sat down, gesturing for me to follow. I did, feeling the tension between us growing by the second. It's not what you think, Jacob, she said softly. Clara didn't cheat on you because she wanted to. It's complicated, and I don't know how to explain it. But I will try. I sat across from her, staring at her, waiting for some kind of clarity to form in the storm of emotions I was feeling. She took a deep breath before speaking again, her voice trembling just slightly. Clara's been struggling, Kate began. For a while now. I don't think you noticed because you were so focused on everything else. But she was starting to pull away. She didn't feel connected to you the way she used to. I don't know exactly when it happened, but somewhere along the way, she started questioning everything. She didn't feel seen, Jacob, and she didn't know how to tell you that. I shook my head. What are you talking about? I tried. I asked her. I know you did. Kate interrupted gently. But Clara wasn't asking for your help. She was asking for space, for time to figure things out. She wasn't happy, and she didn't want to hurt you, but she didn't know how to handle it. She didn't want to lose you, but she didn't know how to find herself again either. That's when Alex came into the picture. My chest tightened at the mention of his name. Alex. I spat. So this guy was the solution? She goes running to him when things get tough, and I'm left in the dark? Kate winced, but she didn't back down. It wasn't like that. It was never about Alex or you, Jacob. It was about Clara and her own feelings. She never intended for it to go as far as it did. But once she started getting closer to him, it was like a dam broke. And now she doesn't know how to fix any of it. I felt a rush of anger flood through me. And you didn't think it was your place to tell me any of this? You knew she was having an affair, Kate, and you didn't say a word? You let me twist in the wind thinking I was the problem? Kate's face crumpled, her eyes filling with tears. I didn't know what to say, Jacob. I didn't want to betray her. She's my best friend. But I see now that I should have told you. I should have made her talk to you sooner. You deserve the truth. I can't change what's happened, but I can tell you that she never meant to hurt you like this. She just didn't know how to deal with her own emotions. I sat there, processing her words, but nothing made sense. How could I have missed all of this? How could Clara, the woman I thought I knew, be living a double life for so long without me even suspecting it? And how could Kate have known and not said anything? I can't keep doing this, I muttered, mostly to myself. I can't keep wondering what happened, what went wrong. I need to talk to Clara. I need to get answers, Kate. If you know where she is, tell me. I have to end this. Kate hesitated before responding. I can't tell you where she is, Jacob. But if you're serious about getting closure, you have to give her space. She'll reach out when she's ready. You need to be patient. I didn't know if I could wait anymore. But I had no choice. Clara was still out there. And when she came back, if she came back, I would be ready to confront her. I would finally get the answers I deserved. I just had to survive the waiting. The next few days were like walking through a fog. I was functioning on autopilot, but everything felt disconnected. Nothing felt real. I didn't want to go home, but I had nowhere else to go. The apartment was a ghost town, and it wasn't just the silence that weighed on me. It was the overwhelming presence of Clara's absence. Her smell lingered on the pillows, her shoes by the door, the books she'd left open on the coffee table. Everything felt like a reminder of something that had slipped through my fingers. I tried to distract myself. I called my brother to meet up for a drink, went to the gym, anything to keep my mind from unraveling. But no matter how many times I tried to fill the void, it never worked. I couldn't escape the fact that Clara wasn't just gone physically. She was gone from my life. Completely. I hadn't heard from her in days. Not a single text, not a call, nothing. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. And the worst part? I had no idea where she was. No idea what she was doing. Was she still with Alex? Was she even thinking about me? Or had she already moved on? These questions gnawed at me, each one worse than the last. But Kate had warned me, Clara needed space. I needed to be patient. But patience wasn't easy, especially when every minute felt like an eternity. I was sitting in the living room one night, staring blankly at the TV, when my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I didn't think much of it at first, too lost in my thoughts, but then I saw the name. It was Clara. For a second, my heart stopped. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, relief, confusion, it was all swirling inside me. I hesitated before picking it up. Should I answer? Should I just let it go to voicemail? I didn't know what kind of conversation this would be. But the thought of hearing her voice, even if it was just to get answers, was too strong. I picked up the phone and swiped to answer. Clara. There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear her breathing, but she didn't speak. It was as if she was trying to find the words, but they weren't coming easily. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft, almost fragile. Jacob, I don't know how to start this. I don't even know if I should be calling you. I sat up straighter, the knot in my chest tightening. Then why are you calling? The words slipped out before I could stop them, harsh and angry. But I couldn't help it. All the pain, all the confusion, it was finally spilling over. I've been avoiding you, I know, Clara said, her voice shaky. I didn't want to hurt you more than I already have, but I can't keep pretending like everything is fine. I need to explain. I swallowed hard. The anger inside me flared up again, but I pushed it down. I wanted answers. And maybe this was the only chance I was going to get to hear the truth. Explain then, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Because I don't understand any of this. You disappeared without a word. You said you were leaving, but you didn't even tell me where you were going. You've been with him, haven't you? Alex? Is that where you've been this whole time? There was a long pause. I could hear her sigh, a soft, almost defeated sound. Yes, she whispered. I've been with him. I'm sorry, Jacob. I never wanted you to find out like this. I should have told you sooner. But I didn't know how. I didn't know how to explain everything that was going on inside me. I didn't know how to respond. The words I'd been preparing, the questions I had in my head, they all just vanished. I was suddenly overwhelmed with this sickening feeling in my stomach. She was admitting it. She was telling me that everything I'd feared was true. How long has this been going on? I asked, barely able to keep my voice from cracking. About a month now, she said, her voice breaking. Maybe more. I don't know. I didn't plan for it to happen, Jacob. It wasn't about him or you. It was about me. I was lost. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know how to fix it. And then Alex, he was there. He listened. He understood in a way that, I don't know, I didn't feel from you. Her words stung like a slap to the face. So you turned to him instead of talking to me? I said, my voice thick with hurt. You couldn't tell me you were struggling? You couldn't come to me for help? I wanted to, she said, almost in a whisper. But I couldn't. I was scared. Scared that if I told you how I felt, you'd leave me. I thought I could fix it on my own. But I couldn't. And now I've made everything worse. I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak coursing through me. You left me with no choice, Clara. You shut me out. You left me wondering what the hell happened to us, to our marriage. And now you're telling me this, after everything? I didn't want to hurt you, Jacob, she said, her voice cracking with emotion. But I did. And I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know if there's a way back for us, but I need you to know that this wasn't about you. I never stopped loving you. But I couldn't be the person you wanted me to be when I didn't even know who I was. Her words hung in the air between us, heavy and thick. It felt like my world was falling apart around me. And yet, at the same time, I felt a strange sense of clarity. She wasn't just running away from me. She was running away from herself. I don't know if I can forgive you for this, Clara, I said, my voice quieter now, more resigned. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. But I need time to think about this. I need to figure out what I want, what I need. I can't just jump back into everything like nothing happened. I need space too. I understand, she said softly. I'll give you that space. But I don't want to lose you, Jacob. I really don't. I didn't know how to respond. The anger that had been bubbling inside me was slowly giving way to a deep sense of exhaustion. I had been through so much in the last few days, and I wasn't sure I could keep going like this. But I wasn't ready to throw everything away either. There was so much I needed to process, and I couldn't do that while Clara was still in the picture, still pulling at my heartstrings. I need to go, I said finally, the words slipping out before I could stop them. I can't do this right now, but we'll talk again, Clara, when I'm ready. I'll wait, she said quietly, and I could hear the tears in her voice. I'll be here when you're ready. I hung up the phone, feeling like a part of me had just been ripped away. But I couldn't keep living like this, chasing after something that wasn't there, hoping for answers that might never come. I had to take control. For once, I had to put myself first. And that meant letting go, at least for now. The days after that phone call felt like they were stretching into eternity. I had asked for space, but it felt more like I had asked for a lifetime. I didn't know if I was giving Clara the room she needed, or if I was just avoiding the inevitable. Every part of me wanted to reach out, to call her, to hear her voice again, and see if she would offer me some kind of hope. But I knew that doing so would only make things worse. I had to figure this out on my own. The first few nights were the hardest. I couldn't sleep. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation we'd ever had, every laugh, every argument. What had happened to us? I kept asking myself the same question over and over. Where had the connection gone? Was it always this fragile, just waiting to break? Or was it something that had been festering for a long time, something neither of us noticed until it was too late? In the mornings, I'd get up and go through the motions. Work was a blur, a distraction I didn't even feel like showing up for. Every time I looked at my phone, I expected a message from Clara. Even though she'd told me to give her space, I kept hoping, waiting for a sign that things might return to normal. But every time I checked, it was still nothing. I'd go to the gym to burn off the excess energy, or I'd take long walks around the city, trying to clear my head. But nothing seemed to help. I couldn't outrun the thoughts that were consuming me. I was haunted by her voice, the way she sounded so fragile and broken, and the part of me that wanted to believe her, to understand her, but couldn't. And at the same time, I was furious. Furious at her for doing this to us. Furious at myself for not seeing the signs sooner. Then, one day, my phone buzzed again. It was a text from Kate. I hadn't heard from her since the night I confronted her about Clara, and I didn't expect much this time either. Jacob, I think you should know something. Clara came to see me. I don't know if it's the right time to tell you this, but she's not in a good place. She's struggling, and I'm worried about her. She says she wants to make things right with you, but she doesn't know how. I think you should reach out when you're ready. Her message hit me like a punch to the gut. Of course Clara was struggling. She was always hiding her pain, never letting anyone in. But hearing it from Kate, hearing that Clara was really falling apart, made me question everything. Was she truly sorry for what she did? Or was this just another excuse, another attempt to manipulate me into forgiving her too easily? I thought about it for hours. I didn't know if I could forgive Clara. Could I ever trust her again? Or was I just clinging to something that wasn't even real anymore? But I couldn't ignore what Kate had said. Clara was still out there, still hurting, and part of me wanted to believe that we could fix things, that we could somehow find our way back to the love we had once shared. That night, I sat in front of my phone for what seemed like an eternity. I wanted to reach out to Clara, but I didn't know where to begin. What could I possibly say to her? How could I start a conversation that had been broken beyond repair? I had so many questions, but no clear answers. Finally, I typed out a message. It wasn't much, but it was something. Clara, I've been thinking a lot about what you said. About everything. I don't know where we go from here, but I'm willing to talk. I'm ready to listen if you are. Just come home. I hit send, my heart pounding in my chest. As soon as I did, the weight of the moment hit me. Was this the right decision? Would this make things better, or would it just open the door to more pain? I didn't get a response right away. I expected that. She had been distant for so long, and I didn't know if she was even ready to hear me out, let alone start working on things. But I had to try. For my own sanity. For the relationship I thought we had. The hours dragged on. I spent the night tossing and turning, unable to find peace. The phone never buzzed with a response, and a part of me began to fear that I was too late. Maybe Clara had already made her decision, and I was just grasping at straws, holding on to something that was already slipping away. I woke up the next morning to the sound of my phone ringing. It was Clara. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately grabbed the phone. I didn't even check who was calling. Clara, I said, my voice a little too eager, a little too desperate. There was a long pause on the other end before I heard her voice. It wasn't the calm, collected Clara I remembered. It was fragile, trembling. Jacob, I got your message, she said softly. I've been thinking a lot too, and I want to be honest with you. I don't know where this is going, but I want to try. I want to fix this. I don't know how, but I'm willing to try. A rush of relief washed over me, but it was quickly followed by a deep sense of uncertainty. I had wanted her to come back, but now that she was here, I didn't know if I was ready. I didn't know if I could ever forgive her for what she had done. But I had asked for this. I had asked for the chance to talk, to understand. I don't know if we can fix this, Clara, I said, my voice quiet now, filled with so much emotion that it felt like I might choke on it. But I'm willing to listen. I need to hear you. I need you to tell me the truth. I will, she whispered. I will tell you everything. But I need you to be patient with me. I'm not asking for forgiveness right away. I just need you to understand that I made mistakes. Big ones. And I'm sorry. I closed my eyes, taking in her words. A small part of me wanted to believe her. A small part of me still loved her. But there was so much pain, so much distrust between us. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy. It would take more than just words to rebuild what we had. But for the first time in days, I felt like there was a chance. A slim one, but a chance nonetheless. I'm here, Clara, I said, the words feeling like a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. I'm here. Let's talk. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like there was hope. Even if it was small, even if it was fragile, it was a spark. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start again. The next few days felt like walking through a fog, everything blurred together. I didn't know what I expected when Clara called, but I wasn't prepared for the flood of emotions that came rushing in. I still couldn't make sense of what had happened. How could everything we'd built come crashing down so quickly? How did the woman I thought I knew, the one I married, the one I trusted, end up doing this to us? I spent the following morning pacing in my apartment, trying to collect my thoughts, trying to prepare myself for whatever was about to unfold. Part of me wanted to avoid the conversation altogether, to keep running from the reality of it. But I knew that was impossible. I couldn't keep running. I needed answers. I needed closure. So I waited. Clara didn't call right away. I expected her to, but I wasn't sure if it was because she was scared or because she had finally made up her mind about what she wanted. She'd been through so much guilt, shame, whatever else was going on inside her mind. But that didn't change the fact that I needed answers. If she was serious about fixing things, she had to meet me halfway. I had to know the truth. Finally, a few hours later, my phone buzzed. It was her. I swallowed hard, feeling my heart race, but I took a deep breath and answered. Clara. There was a brief pause before I heard her voice on the other end. It was softer than usual, quieter, as if she wasn't sure what to say. Jacob, she started, her voice trembling. I don't know where to begin. I've been thinking about what you said. About us. About everything. And I need you to understand that I've never wanted to hurt you. I didn't respond immediately. I was still trying to process everything. I had so many questions, but I needed her to talk first. I needed to hear her side before I could decide if I was ready to ask for the answers I was so desperate for. She continued, her words almost stumbling over each other. I've been running from myself for so long. I thought if I kept pushing things aside, kept pretending everything was fine, it would get better. But it didn't. It only made things worse. I didn't want to be the person who lied to you, Jacob. But I became that person. And I'm so sorry. Her apology hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't the typical apology I had been bracing myself for, the kind that felt empty, like it was set out of obligation. This one felt genuine. But at the same time, I couldn't just ignore the months of deceit, the betrayal that had happened. I couldn't just turn off the hurt I felt. I don't know what to say to that, Clara, I said, my voice shaking with the weight of everything I had been holding in. How can I believe you? How can I believe anything you say after everything that's happened? She was silent for a moment, and I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. I understand why you feel that way, she said quietly. But I need you to know that I never stopped loving you, Jacob. I thought I was doing what was best by pulling away, by shutting down, but I see now that I was only pushing you further away. I can't take back what I did, but I want to be honest with you now. I want to fix this, if you'll let me. Her words stung, but there was something in them, something raw, that made me feel like maybe she was telling the truth. I wanted to believe her. But was it too late for us? Could I forgive her for everything that had happened? I didn't know the answers to those questions yet, but I knew that I couldn't keep running away from them. If Clara wanted to fix things, I needed to see it. I needed to see her put in the work, just like I was willing to put in the effort to rebuild whatever was left of us. I don't know if I can just forgive you and pretend everything is fine, I said, my voice quieter now, more composed. But I'm willing to listen. I need to know the truth, Clara. Everything. No more lies. There was a long pause, and I could hear her take a shaky breath. I will tell you everything. But it's not going to be easy, Jacob. And I'm not asking for your forgiveness right away. I just want a chance to make things right. Please, let me prove that I can be the person you deserve. I let her words sink in. A chance. Could I give her a chance? I wasn't sure. My heart still ached with the sting of betrayal. But I wasn't ready to throw everything away just yet. I needed more. I needed to see if this was something worth saving. Where are you, Clara? I asked. I need to see you. We need to talk about this in person. There was a long silence before she spoke again. I'm staying with Kate right now, she said softly. But I don't want to be there anymore. I can't keep running from this. I'll come to you. Just tell me where. I gave her the address to my apartment, and after a few moments, she promised she would be there soon. My mind was racing, but I tried to calm myself down. This conversation was going to be the hardest one of my life, but I knew it was the only way forward. If I wanted answers, if I wanted to know if there was still a chance for us, I had to face it. I didn't know what would happen when Clara walked through that door. I didn't know if we would find a way to heal or if this was the end of everything. But I knew that for the first time in days, I wasn't alone in my thoughts. I wasn't trapped in the dark anymore. I had taken the first step toward understanding, toward whatever came next. The doorbell rang a little over an hour later. My heart pounded in my chest as I stood up to open it. The woman standing in front of me wasn't the Clara I remembered. She looked different, tired, broken, but still the same in ways that made my heart ache. Her eyes were red from crying, her shoulders slumped, as if she was carrying the weight of everything she had done. We stood there in silence for a few moments, the air between us heavy with unspoken words. Finally, Clara spoke. "Jacob," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Let's talk," I said, stepping aside to let her in. "Let's get this out in the open." And just like that, everything began to unravel. The moment Clara stepped into the apartment, everything felt different. The air was thick with tension, but underneath it, there was something else, a flicker of hope, however faint it was. I hadn't realized until that moment how much I had missed her. It wasn't just the woman I married. It was the woman I'd shared my life with, the one who had once been my best friend. We both stood there for a moment, not sure what to say, the weight of the last few weeks hanging heavily between us. But as Clara stepped closer, I saw it in her eyes. Genuine remorse, regret, but also a kind of longing. She wasn't just asking for forgiveness. She was asking for a chance to make things right. "I never wanted to hurt you, Jacob," she said again, her voice breaking as she looked at me. "I've been so lost. I don't even know how to fix this, but I know I can't keep running. I need you to understand that." I nodded, my heart a little lighter than before. "I know, Clara. I know. But you can't just expect me to forgive you overnight. This isn't something we can just forget about. I need time, too." She nodded, taking a deep breath. "I understand. And I'm not asking for instant forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to prove that I can be the person you need me to be. That I can be the person I need to be, for both of us." I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't the same person she had been when she left. She had changed, for better or worse, and I wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I believed that she was sincere. The words she was speaking weren't just empty promises. They were filled with the raw honesty that had been missing for far too long. We sat down on the couch, and for the next few hours, we talked. Really talked. About everything. About her mistakes, my feelings, the distance that had grown between us, and the things we had been too afraid to say to each other. We were both broken in different ways, but as we spoke, it felt like we were starting to heal, piece by piece. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know if everything would work out between us, but I knew one thing. We were willing to try. And for the first time, I felt like we were in this together. We weren't just holding on to a version of the past that didn't exist anymore. We were looking at the present, at the reality of who we had become, and figuring out where to go from there. As the night wore on, Clara and I took small steps toward rebuilding. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't a perfect moment, but it was real. We made a promise that night, not to fix everything at once, but to be patient with each other, to let things unfold as they would, and to take the time we needed to heal. The next few weeks were filled with awkwardness, but also moments of tenderness. We didn't rush. We spent more time together, talking, laughing, and rediscovering the things that had once brought us close. We were building something new, something stronger, and with each day, it felt like we were becoming better versions of ourselves. And then, one evening, about a month after that conversation, Clara and I went out for dinner. It was a simple date, just the two of us, no distractions, no pressure. As we sat across from each other, sharing a quiet meal, I looked at her and smiled. There was a warmth in her eyes, a spark of the woman I had fallen in love with. "I don't know what the future holds," I said softly, reaching across the table to take her hand. But I know I want to face it with you. If you're willing to try, I'm willing to try too. Clara squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with emotion. I am. I want to do this, Jacob. I want to be with you, and I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not the kind that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from knowing you're on the right path, from knowing that you're not alone anymore. We didn't have all the answers. There were still days ahead filled with challenges and moments of doubt. But in that moment, we had each other. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. We were rebuilding, one step at a time. And that was all we needed. Because sometimes, the hardest part of moving forward isn't finding the right answers. It's being brave enough to take the first step. And for Clara and me, we had finally taken it. Together.